There's always somebody whose absence you feel louder as the world changes. For me, that was my brother, Julius. He was complicated. He was a genius. He was a Republican. And I still think about what he would say about the world we're living in right now, especially as AI, politics, and purpose collide like never before. Welcome in to another episode of Uncut Gems. I'm your host, Jay Floyd. I am a tech leader. I'm a life coach, a rare purpose, strengths-oriented life coach. I show up to do my thing. That's what I do. I have a unique shape, and I'm all the way leaned into it. Today is going to be a really good one. This one is called, I Wish My Brother Julius Was Here. I know I may have touched on this before, maybe on the episode where I talked about my drowning episode. My brother was one of the key stars of that episode and that story, right? My brother Julius, let's see, I was born 1976, the bicentennial year. My brother was born 1972, right? He's a summertime baby. He was not your average kid. I can recall one of my earliest memories. I was probably about 4 years old. My brother was 7 or 8, and we were in the projects. We're in Cleveland. I think we were like at my auntie's house, and my brother, he had this thing about food, man. He always wanted to eat, always, right? So he was like, I am going to go boil some eggs. I've discovered boiled eggs, and that's what I want to do, right? This 7, 8-year-old kid. And it's nighttime, and he can't really get all the way up to the stove, right? So he goes and gets the hood stool. I don't know if anybody knows what a hood stool is. It is a milk crate, right? Anybody who grew up in the projects or has spent time around the projects, especially in the 1970s and 1980s, man, I don't know what was with the surplus of milk crates, but like literally it was a milk crate everywhere, right? I actually told the story, I said in one of my lyrics once, in the projects, the milk crate is your cradle and your rocking chair. Because you will see little kids out sitting on it, but you will also see old people sitting on it, so much so that they would sew pillows to the top of it and sit on it, right? So my brother went and got this milk crate because that's what we had around everywhere, and he was standing on it. He's standing on the milk crate to get to the stove to boil the water to cook the eggs. And I'm standing off behind him. I don't really know what's going on. I'm a kid, and I don't even have a whole lot of awareness back then, right? Even from what I remember being like blank. I'm just there, right? I don't have many active thoughts. And the water spills. My brother slips off of the milk crate. The water spills on him, and it scalds his entire abdomen. You know, if I could paint the picture for you, you know where Tupac's Thug Life tattoo was on, it's like the rib cage area. That whole area is a big circle from that area down to his waistline that just burnt off. And somehow, I don't know, I guess from him screaming, I know I wasn't aware enough to do stuff. I probably just screamed. The ambulance came, they took him to the hospital. He ends up being soaked in a tub as my parents, come in to see about him. They soak him in this goo, to start the healing process. And we're sitting in a kind of a lobby outside. He's behind these glass windows. Obviously, you have to be inside this germ-free environment, right? He's inside of a germ-free environment behind glass windows, and we're looking through the glass windows at him, and he's just in there screaming, "I'm number one. I'm the only thing that matters. Come see about me." I mean, this is a 7 to 8-year-old kid that is this deep into his own narcissism, right? Pain, but narcissism. So I wanted to lead with that story to tell you my brother Julius, complicated cat, far from easy to categorize, right? Like he, teenager, grew up in the hood. We moved to the suburbs. He brought a lot of the hood with him. Super street smart, super book smart, deeply principled, super unpredictable, probably bipolar, right? He gave me some hard times throughout life. Like our sibling rivalry was not your average sibling rivalry. I went to the emergency room a number of times, couple concussions from fighting him, wrestling him. Tension and love existed around him at the same time, right? He was put up, he skipped a grade, so he was young for his age, so he's always around older kids. And he became like a leader of, all of a sudden he would have this friend group, and then it would be a crew, and then it was a posse, and then it was a rap group, and then it was a gang. And it was always something evolving around him. And if you look on his face, you would just think it was just a party all the time. But there was a lot of turmoil in there. So, there was this tension where love and chaos reigned. He would have all of these, he would meet friends and people from everywhere and do great things for him. There was one time he met a guy, and all of a sudden that guy didn't have a place to live, and he got my mother to let him live with us for what was supposed to be a couple of weeks and ended up being some months. And then at the end of it, he was the one that kicked the guy out because they didn't get along anymore. So it's a really, really complicated person, right? He could have you laughing and lectured in the same sentence. And sometimes the things that he said hit me later, like decades later. I still recall one of the most profound things he ever said. There's a couple. I'll probably give you a couple of them. One, I can't remember. I was probably crying about something. I was a little bit of a crybaby. I really just did. If I didn't like things, I just would scream like the world should change, So he just did not like that. And I remember I was complaining or crying one day, and he said, "Whoever told you that life would be fair?" And I remember looking up at him, and he's probably 14 at the time, and he's looking me dead in the eye. He was serious, like on a whole nother level. He was like, "Really though, when you were born, what instruction book told you things are going to be fair? Nothing says that. There is no promise like that." It's amazing. It's amazing. And the time I didn't understand, but I swear that moment has come back to me a lot, And he also said one other thing. My mother had these, obviously like a lot of moms, single moms raising two boys. She always would want us to be careful. Be careful. You may get hurt. Be careful. And I remember him saying, if I have to live scared, then that's not living. I'd rather live fearless, right? And he actually was the first person to go by the name Jay, like my Uncle Jay, right? So before I did, he went by Jay for two reasons. Because my Uncle Jay was the coolest ever, and because a lot of his friends had a hard time pronouncing Julius, and they had a way of making it sound like uncool and nerdy, like it would just drool out of their mouth, Julius. So he was just like, "Call me Jay," And eventually he was Big J and I was Little J. And that was just how my name evolved, right? Second thing about my brother, he was a genius. Smartest person I've ever met. And as my high school guidance counselor told me, I was almost as intelligent as him. He was intelligent to the point of brilliance. Those are her words. His mind was years ahead. So many of the things that I learned. And actually, I think even my thirst for knowledge was fed. The habit of learning constantly was fed by him because he has such a zeal for life. Life for him was like a meal. It's like he was eating it up, right? He would go to school and learn. I remember he went to school and he was reading Homer's novels, and he read the Iliad and the Odyssey. And he came home and he was like, yo, these books, man, it's called the Iliad and the Odyssey. I know it sounds weird, but it's the craziest thing ever. And he's like describing to me what happened through this epic saga. He's describing it to me. He's like sixth grade. He's describing it to me and he's going in depth. And as a second grader, I'm eating it up. I'm like, what is this? What? And I remember one day he was not home. He's out, with his friends or whatever. And I snuck into his room, and on his bed was a copy of the Iliad. And I started reading it. And I'm like struggling to read all the words or really absorb the concept. But I thought it was really interesting that he had that kind of zeal for life, whether it was learning German or math, advanced algebra, certain literature. He would just come home with it and be so on fire. I remember him talking about German, how great of a language it was and how interesting it was. And he taught me that Spreche Deutsch means speak German. And we discussed why Deutsch is the word for German. This is a sixth grader talking to me about this stuff, right? And I mean, like, we're in the hood, man. Like, we're not surrounded by people taking these classes. But the key thing for my life, he introduced me to coding and tech. He begged my parents for a Commodore 64 and they got it for him. And, it was just a computer to me. It was like, whatever, just a thing people were buying. We were so accustomed to Ataris and ColecoVisions that we were used to getting devices and hooking them up to our TV and playing games on them, right? But a computer was a little bit different, right? It involved that learning aspect. It involved a little bit of that, some devices that were less standard, right? Like some of them had floppy disks, some of them had hard cassettes, some of them had different things. So it was like, it seemed to me like something that was less universal. Whereas an Atari, I could just plug it in. It's got a A/B switch. It's got a joystick. Let's roll. Cartridge. All the cartridges are the same size. Let's go. Right. The computer was different. So when he got this Commodore 64, I didn't think much about it. And one day he's in there in his room again, and I see this book, and I'm like, yo, what's in that book? And he's like, well, let me show you. And he brings me to the computer and he lets me sit down at it, and he stands behind me and he opens the book to one of the back pages. I remember he went like where you would expect like the index or the glossary, and he flips to the back page and he says, one of them, he's like, you see what's on this page? Type in everything on this page exactly the way it is. I don't want you to miss anything. If you miss anything, we're going to start over. So I started typing it, and immediately I recognized that I'm not good at typing. And one of the things that stands out to me is, you could hold down Shift and it would change what you were typing. So I finally get all the stuff typed, and he's like, okay, now hit enter. And I hit enter and nothing happened. And he's like, you messed up. And I'm like, well, how do you know? And he's like, look, and the screen says syntax error, syntax error, syntax. And this was the first time in my life I had saw that word. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And he said, well, it means there's an error. There's a mistake in the text that you wrote. Anything that you write is called syntax. So you didn't do something right. So we went over it and we found that I missed a character, corrected the character, and we hit enter, and the screen turned blue and red and green, and then the text turned white and gray. It was crazy. Like, I had never seen anything like it. And I'm like, what? It's like So it was like a life hack or a magic trick, right? But this was coding. But the way that he presented it to me, it felt like I just showed you a trick, right? And so then he flips to the next page and he's like, if we do this page, it almost sounds like a eagle was going to attack me. I don't know if you heard that. That's what happens when you live in North Carolina now, right? I guess I got to get used to different wildlife. So he flips to the next page and he's like, well, something even better happens if you do this one. But you got to remember, don't make syntax errors. And so I typed it all in. I didn't make any errors this time. I hit the button and the screen turned red again. And then a ball bounced. It came from one side of the screen and bounced to the bottom of the screen and bounced out the other side of the screen. And I'm like, whoa. And he's just looking at me like magic, right? It's amazing. It's amazing. It's kind of like, just like all learning, right? His mind was 10 steps ahead, pattern recognition, systems thinking, creative logic. He didn't just see tech, he saw through it. He understood how the tools would impact the audience, me. And that's why I lean into tech now. That's why I love tech. I love automation now. I was watching him have this excitement, just light up for things. And I still love to see that. And I still have that today. Now, I did give 3 things that were interested about my brother. And the third one is probably the least expected. He was a Republican. Yeah. This black inner city kid. I mean, he was an anomaly. And this was not performative. He wasn't doing it to be like, cool or anti or, he was serious, right? He had studied, he loved Ronald Reagan. He loved trickle-down economics. He believed in it. He's like, this is a system. Everybody around us is complaining about it. Because my grandmother was very involved in politics in the civil rights movement. She was at the March on Washington. She was a key contributor and helper to George Forbes being elected and Carl Stokes being elected. And so, yeah, our family was deep into Cleveland politics on the Democrat side. So he was really breaking the mold, but he believed in it. He believed, like, why are we complaining about it? This is America. This is the game. This is what the game is. You got to play the game. If you want it, go get it. Right? He believed that. He's like, and the Republicans are teaching you the blueprint of how to go get it. If you want the money, you got to go where the money is. That's what he used to say. He valued his independence. He valued structure, self-determination. And he was like, I'm going to go get it. When he turned 13, we didn't have any money in the house. And he wanted things that we couldn't afford. So he went out and got a job. He went to the golf course right around the corner from where we had just moved in Cleveland Heights. He got a job as a caddy and he started networking and he met a lot of people. And he talked about these Republican tenets and values, and it solidified it even more for him. And, he knew what to say to those people to get more tips from them so that he could make his dreams come true. And he took that and parlayed that into a job at Burger King. And then he became a team leader there and moved into being a manager of people. That was his thing. Go get it. Don't wait. He was young doing it. He didn't wait for permission, right? So, yeah, he was very an anomaly. It's different. And I think about, you look at all of that and I wonder what he would be like now, being such a complex person in today's day and age. Would he get canceled? Would he be beloved? Would he be successful? I've told the story before that my brother, he did join a gang and he was murdered in 1992 when he was 19 years old. Just 2 months before his 20th birthday, he was shot and killed in a very similar fashion to Notorious B.I.G., right? He's in a car and he was killed. I always wonder what he would be like now. What would it be like to be that complex now? Would he still be that complex now? Would he have settled into one side or the other as he got older? Right? What would that genius look like? And would he have his own company? Would he have been an entrepreneur? I really think so. You know, like the way that his mind worked, the way he was thinking outside the box so much, this would have been a prime time for him to be here, you know? And I think about that. And what about him being a Republican? How would that work? Would he be MAGA? Would he be a Trump supporter? I don't know. What I do know is I think about what he would say now, or where everything is either red or blue or binary or banished, or when he didn't fit these molds and he never tried to. I always wonder, you know, I wish my brother Julius was here, not just for me, but for this moment. He would challenge what you think you know. He would push you. And in doing so, he would make space for brilliance that doesn't fit cleanly into categories. I would absolutely get him on my podcast if he was here to see what he would say. So listen, to everybody listening, who's the person whose voice you wish we had still in the room right now? What would they say about where you're headed? How would you carry that part of their genius, your part of their genius, forward in your lane? Drop me a comment or a DM. Tell me about your Julius that you wish was still here. That one rare voice that you still carry on. Thank you for joining me, y'all. I love y'all. Peace. Ready to revolutionize your content creation? Discover Deep Brain AI, the cutting-edge solution in AI video synthesis. Create lifelike AI videos with ease, ideal for presentations, educational content, or just boosting your digital marketing. Your AI avatar waits to deliver messages with natural expressions and natural voices. It'll be just like hearing and seeing you and me. Experience the future of communication with Deep Brain AI. Discover more right now at what'sgood.work and click on our link that says visit our sponsor.